we're keen to talk to emerging talent in the channel and not just the usual talking heads, as much as we love them. And to kick things off, I had an absorbing conversation with Rachel Clay. Now, she's the Education Sales Manager at Softcat. We talked about a few things. We talked about COVID's impact on technology in the education market, her own work-life balance and how Softcat support that, and also who her key influences are on her career and her personal life. And I wonder who she's talking about here.
You're amazing.
You're so inspiring.
Well, you need to watch and find out.
So here we are with our first guest. It's Rachel Clay from Softcat. Hi, Rachel.
Hi, Matt.
How are you?
Yeah, very well, thanks. How are you?
Yeah, I'm really good, thank you. I'm really good. So, if we could tell the thousands of people who you are and a bit about yourself, please.
Yeah, sure. Hi, everyone. So I'm Rachel Clay. I'm the Education Sales Manager at Softcat. I've been with the business for 13 and a bit years now, which has gone by in a flash. I'm responsible for Softcat's education business in its entirety, so looking after from the smallest primary school all the way through to the largest university.
So we've got the whole channel responding to COVID in your market especially. What do you think the channel can do to help more in education?
It's really interesting because, as I'd alluded to earlier, the digital learning agenda has been brought forward by 4 years. So it now means that they're at the same level as enterprise and our corporate counterparts in that sense. And it means that when vendors and technology providers are looking at new solutions for people, they need to consider now that public sector should be at the forefront of their mind as well as designing for these large enterprise corporate businesses. Because they're there and they are now able to be innovative because COVID has brought them up to speed with everybody else. So it's making sure that they're including everybody in their designs now, not just thinking about those big, huge enterprise businesses.
Interesting that you mention enterprise and them leading the way with technology and Softcat servicing that particular market. However, things like data security and cybersecurity, that's a hot topic for everybody. And I'm wondering what Softcat are doing to protect their education customers. Yeah,
it's a really interesting point, Matt, because they're just as in as much threat as any other establishment out there. So, a school is under as much threat as HSBC Bank, as an example. So it's really important that everybody's got the same level of security and they've got that same baseline of security. And interestingly, security solutions have had to evolve, and schools and other education establishments are having to provide security for home learning as well. So now they're looking at a different set of security products and security features to deal with the hybrid learning going forwards.
So they wouldn't necessarily have looked at those, would they? They wouldn't have looked at those solutions prior to COVID, I'd imagine.
It wouldn't have been a necessity. It wouldn't have even been a consideration actually for a lot of the establishments, but now it will be definitely at the forefront of their minds when they look at them.
So Rachel, you've had a fantastic year. It's been very successful. You're clearly building a great team at Softcat around education and really driving into that market. What would you say has been your most positive experience in the past 12 months?
Yeah, so for us, it has to be our Softcat Aspire event, which we held at the end of January. So we were really conscious that one of the largest education shows in the world was cancelled due to the COVID pandemic. So we really wanted to provide that piece of content for our customers that they would be missing out of from that event not proceeding. So we went out to a subsection of our customers and basically said, what is it that you need us to provide? What content do you need? What direction do you need at the moment to get you through this last stage of, well, fingers crossed, we hope, of the COVID pandemic? And the response was massively, please provide us with some thought leadership. Tell us how to get out of this. Please point us in the right direction of what the best solutions are going forward as we move into that hybrid learning environment as well. So we decided to host our first online event, which we've not done before, to replace the large education show that wasn't happening this year because of the COVID pandemic. And we asked our top 10 vendors in the education space to come and work with us on it and to provide content, and we gave them all a virtual room, and that was really popular. But the key point of the event, which was most powerful, was us providing that thought leadership through the keynote speaker sessions. And they were really, really powerful, and it allowed us to deliver messages to a large subset of customers that perhaps we wouldn't be able to get through on a one-to-one basis to deliver all of those separate messages across.
We saw a lot of the keynote talks as they were being recorded, and they were absolutely fascinating. And our understanding is that they were all, original content. So what was your guidance to the vendors for those keynotes? Because they really hit home.
Yeah, we asked the vendors not to focus on speeds and feeds and anything to do with their product specifically. It was
Mm,
more to do with how they're influencing the market and the benefit that the education institutions could get from using their product.
mm.
So that was more rather than them talking about their product specifically.
Yeah, customers respond well to that, don't they? Because then they can go, well, actually, I didn't know what I didn't know, and now I know what I know, and I know how to solve it. And that's where obviously you guys come in. So it was a very rich experience, I think, for your customers to go in, to wander around, and you and I have seen all of the data reports out of the back end that we provided to you in terms of user activity, etc. And it was fascinating to see how many of the rooms specific users went into, what they downloaded, how much of a video that they watched, which videos they watched, etc. So it could really build a profile for you to pass on to your sales teams and have those all important sales conversations, and because you're talking specifically about something that they've effectively pre-qualified what they're interested in, right?
Yeah, exactly. And it helped us to identify what's really important to them and what their
Mm.
priorities are over the course of coming out of the pandemic as well.
See, we spent a whole bunch of time together with the team producing Aspire, and it was a lot of fun. And I'm keen to understand who or what are your influences.
Yeah, so both my parents have got a background in education, so it's in the blood. So I didn't want to be a teacher and follow suit of everybody else in my family, but actually I've learned a lot about the education system from both my parents, and actually my granddad too was a deputy head teacher. So literally, it's all the way through in the generations. So
Do you ever sort of talk to them about your role and how you can better communicate with the education market?
Yeah, quite frequently. And it's interesting because they've all worked in different settings of different areas of education as well. So I can get advice from all of them, but it helps me to understand it from a pedagogical perspective as well.
Okay. Any
Pedagogical
celebrities?
perspective. Um, yeah, celebrity wise, there's a lady called Sheryl Sandberg that's she's a very, very famous author. She wrote
Mm.
a book called Lean In, which is trying to inspire more women to lean in physically at the board table and
Oh,
not
is
to
that
be,
right?
yeah, not to be
Okay.
sitting on the peripheral.
Okay.
And she's also co-authored a book called Getting to 50/50, which is
Yeah.
getting the balance right between parenting and having a really good career. And
Mm.
that's really important for me, with obviously with a young child as well.
Her
So
career's
yeah,
taken her to some pretty big places, hasn't it?
yeah, huge places. She's worked at the likes of Facebook, Google. Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah, getting to 50/50.
Okay. About the work-life balance, or
Yeah.
is it? See, work-life balance is. I mean, it's as old as the hills, isn't it? I mean, with all this grey hair, I've been hearing it since God knows the '90s about work-life balance. But I guess what does it really mean? Because it's so subjective, isn't it? So it depends on your home situation, your personal life situation. The balance, is it strictly 50/50, or is it sometimes 70/30 for you, or is it, how do you balance between being successful at Softcat and being a fantastic mum with Freddie?
I think it's about setting expectations, and making sure you're really open about your time. So prior to COVID, actually, I think a lot of people used to hide if they were going to go and do the school run, and potentially not tell people across the industry. This isn't Softcat
Mm.
specific, but now people are really open about that sort of thing. And I block out my diary. So the time when Freddie was at home and the nursery wasn't open, I block out time to say, this is lunchtime with my family. Do not disturb me during this time, and this is dinner time. Do not disturb me during this time, and breakfast, etc. So all the meal times were firmly blocked out from that perspective. But also, I try not to. So if when Freddie's home from nursery, I spend that time with him, and once he's in bed, then I will come back and do extra work if I need to. If I need to catch up from time that I've spent with Freddie, so I'll
Yeah.
always prioritize him when he's in the house. But then I'll make sure I catch up and follow up
So
on it.
we had a couple of calls where Freddie starred, and he is an absolute ball of energy, isn't he? He's fantastic.
Yeah,
So, I
absolutely.
mean, you have to then, don't you? You have to say this is my time, and obviously with your other half, you split that responsibility, and having Freddie there. I see what you're saying about blocking time out, and that's super important. But then when do you block out time for yourself? Because if you're doing that work, you're blocking that time out for Freddie. It's meal times. It's commuting to nursery, etc. And then in the evening, the same thing. And then you've just said it. You end up pushing your work into Rachel's time and your other half's time. So do you do anything to kind of address that as well?
Yeah, it's really interesting, and probably my weaker area is making time for me. But Softcat have recently tried to encourage people to not have any calls and meetings between 12 and 2,
Oh,
so that
okay.
everybody gets a solid lunch break and you get time to focus on catching up on your emails.
Mm,
So today I did Zumba 12 to 1, and that was a bit of me time. I had a meeting literally was 11:59. I was like, and I've said this 2 weeks in a row now. I'm really sorry, but I've got to go because my Zumba class starts in a minute. I've got a minute to get changed and get
yeah,
downstairs on
yeah,
my Zoom class. And it's a
yeah.
priority for me now because it's so important.
Yes.
That's the mental release that I get.
Outside of celebrity, and obviously Sheryl Sandberg and your parents being a huge influence, that's pretty awesome. Is there anybody within Softcat you want to call out? And no one's going to judge you if you call out somebody senior or junior to you. It's not a problem because influences are all around us.
Yeah, I'm going to call out somebody very new into the business actually that's hugely influenced me, and that's our public sector director who just joined us at the beginning of January, Louise Fellows. She's an inspiration to me. Obviously, she's a senior woman in business, and she is where I'll aspire to be. But just the way she handles every single situation and how she contributes, I've learned a lot off of her already.
That's amazing. That's really good to have someone come into the business and be such a positive influence already. It's amazing.
Particularly in a business like Softcat, when culture's at the forefront of everything, and
Mm,
to find the right person to come in and to fit the culture, and the fact that she's come in and had such a positive influence from day one,
mm.
um, it's amazing.
From day one. Wow.
There we go,
Literally day one.
day one.
Hi, I'm Louise. Wow. You're
You're so
amazing.
inspiring. Don't put that in there.
Listen, Rachel, thank you so much for your time. And I really hope that people take the time to listen to what you've had to say, because it's been fascinating on a personal level and in your professional life as well. It's been really, really interesting. Thank you so much for giving us your time.
No problem. Nice to see you again.
Yeah, I'll see you too, Rachel. Take care. Bye-bye.
Bye.